Yo, how's it going, guys? I'm back in the workshop today and I've got a plan to replace my whole drivetrain on my Gazzetta. But before we get into it, I'll just give you a little update on the Gazzetta. So after fitting the rack, I decided I wanted to run a front brake again, but unfortunately my old gusset V-brake didn't fit as the arms are actually too long and they came into contact with the rack mount. So I managed to find these Tektro RX1 V-brakes, which actually have shorter arms on them, and these ended up working really well. As you can see here, there's a nice little bit of clearance with just a few millimeters gap, so they worked out really nice. And what's quite interesting about these brakes is that because they have shorter arms, it means that they actually have a short pull ratio, meaning I can run this nice smaller Odyssey BMX lever, whereas like a traditional size V-brake, the ones I had before, actually require like a long pull lever, which are generally a bit larger in size. And what I did with the cable routing is I ran it behind the back of the rack, so I'm still able to fit the rack bag and other stuff on the top of the rack without it getting in the way as much. However, the brake noodle rubs on this back part of the rack here, so what I did to protect it is I just wrapped a whole bunch of electrical tape around that part, which has worked out really nicely so far. So getting back to the drivetrain, these are all the new parts that I'll be swapping out and fitting. We have some classic black Sram Omniums, 165 length, which are just a little bit shorter than my current cranks, which are 167.5s. So this will just help like a tiny bit with pedal strike and toe overlap, which will be nice. I've gone for a 17-tooth Soma cog, some black Omnium chainring bolts, and a black GXP bottom bracket. I've gone for a new Izumi jet black chain with the black and silver, which should look quite nice. And I managed to find this nice 47-tooth Zen chainring, which I'm really excited about. And lastly, I'll be swapping out my pedals for these E-clap slash pedals, which you've probably seen quite a few times on a lot of my builds. But yeah, let's move on to stripping the old parts off. So this is where I ran into a little bit of a problem. Some of you guys might already know this, but Omnium chainring bolts are a little bit longer than traditional check chaining bolts, and this is because like the Omnium spider and chainring is a little bit thicker than normal. So hopefully you can see it here. The bolt actually comes through right to the edge of the chainring, which basically means that it can't be securely tightened enough, so always have a little bit of movement or play, which isn't any good. So I won't actually be able to use these Omnium bolts, which is a shame, but fortunately I have some other black Shimano chainring bolts which will work a lot better, so I'll put these ones on instead. So moving on to the rear wheel now, I've just noticed that these bearings are crazy stiff, which isn't good. So I'm hoping that it might just be the cones that are a bit tight and not the bearings that are actually worn, as I don't have any spare at the moment. But let's remove the cog anyway, give it a bit of a clean up and take a look at the bearings. Now that the hub is all cleaned up, I'm just going to remove the axle to check out the bearings. So the bearings still have a good coating of grease, which looks like a good sign, and there's also no signs of rust. So this side feels nice and smooth, no obvious play there either, so let's just check out the other side. Also no play, which is good, and yeah, the bearings still feel good on this side, so I'd say that it was just the cones that were a little bit too tight. So let's get the axle and the cones back in there, tighten it up, and we'll see. So let's just tighten up this side, and yeah, so that's still a little bit too tight, so I'll back that off a touch. So yeah, that's a little bit better, but it's still a little bit too tight, so I'll just do that again. And yeah, this time it's nice and smooth, so there's no resistance there and also no play, so just wiggling the axle. So yeah, that's nice. I'm happy with that, so let's get the new cog back on and get back to it. So these are my old pedals here, and there's nothing actually wrong with them, but the main reason that I want to swap them out is that they have these really sharp corners on the pedal axle, and these tend to dig into and kind of scratch your cranks up. However, I was using these pedal washers. You might have seen these before. These tend to prevent this, but it's not perfect and they don't look as clean. So yeah, I'm going to put on these E-clap pedals. They don't have that sharp edge. You should hopefully be able to see the difference here. So yeah, all I need to do now is swap the straps over, fit the pedals, and it's all done. And that's it, we're all done now. I really like how the black and silver combo has worked out. So I've gone from a 46:16 to a 47:17 ratio, so it'll be slightly easier, which is a little bit better for me. Quite a few hills around where I live, and it's a little bit easier for learning new tricks. But yeah, thanks for watching guys. Hopefully some of you have found it helpful. Let me know if you got any questions. I'm gonna go take it out now for a ride. Gonna go test it out, so yeah, I'll catch you guys all next time. Peace. you.